they will set standards for themselves and they will go right up to that standard and then they stop. And this is the hole that they're in. We watch people that are building businesses right now and they have these dreams of the business that they want to build down the road. But right now, they just want to be financially okay. They just want to feel like they have a grasp on this. That's the hole that they set for themselves. Welcome back to Life at 10 Tenths, where we inspire you to live at your pinnacle of your ability and purpose. Matt Benelli is here with me. My name is Garrett Fry, and we are super excited. Matt has brought a great topic today. Before we jump into that, if you're listening to this on YouTube or if you're listening to this on any platform and you want to support us and help us grow and get out to as many people as possible, like, subscribe, hit any reminders that you can have with this, because again, all that stuff helps the algorithms to us get out to more people. And if you can, share this. If you find something in here that you're like, I have a friend, a colleague, a manager that needs to hear this, share the episode along. We would appreciate it. And with that being said, Matt, you brought a great topic. I am really excited to go down this because we've always watched people. The more you work with people in their business and you watch them grow and then tumble a little bit and then grow some more and tumble a little bit, there's a great visual that you came up with that I'm just going to kick this over to you because I want you to kind of tell me where this came from, what caused it, and I think it's just a good focus for people to understand where they might be.
Yeah, I appreciate that, Garrett. Hello to you and everybody. Thank you so much for tuning in. And I want to set the framework a little bit here before sharing the actual visualization, which is we all go through this. I've experienced this multiple times in my life, and you can make these on big issues or small issues. Garrett, I know you've experienced these things, which is a lot of times if we feel like we're in a hole, we'll work our butts off to just get right out of the hole, whether you're climbing out of financial debt, or you're trying to lose weight and get to a certain point in your health, or you're trying to get your business to a certain point. You work hard enough to get just out of the hole and you stop. Mm-hmm. And then a lot of times we go backwards, right? And it's well, what got us out of there? And I was having a conversation with a client the other day, and we were kind of talking about the journey and everything and the challenges that she has. And I said, well, do you like the journey that you're on, the tool that you're using, your business, the ladder that you have set up to get out of this hole? Do you like it? She's like, yeah, I do. And I think most of us do, particularly if you're in real estate, right? We say this all the time. You got into this business because you're like, I know this business will be able to help me build the life that I want to live. And a lot of people say, I love real estate. It's a fun business.
I love the people. I love the things I get to do and all these things, the lunches, the coffees, the market impact reports. I love doing this stuff.
Yeah, it's great. And it's okay, awesome. Let's just look at the ladder then, because if we love the journey, then every rung that we climb on this ladder is exciting. It's joyful, right? And so take the background out for a second and just picture a ladder. Now, you can close your eyes to do this. If you're driving or running, I would recommend you keep your eyes open. But if you're in a place where you can stop and say, close your eyes and just picture this ladder with no background. It's in that white space that exists in the movie The Matrix, where it's the boot up mode where there's nothing there. It's just white, right? And now you have this beautiful ladder, right? Put whatever kind of coating that you want on it. If you want a gold ladder, a silver ladder, a rose, whatever you want it to be, a very beautiful handcrafted wood ladder, just the best ladder you could possibly imagine. And that is your career and life path that you love, right? You love climbing this ladder, right? Now, as you visualize yourself taking a step up on each rung, experience the joy that comes with climbing one step on this ladder, the next step. We're not there's no top to this thing. It's just loving each rung that we climb on, right? And hopefully that feels pretty good, because that is where we always are. If we like what we're doing, even if we don't like what we're doing, but we have a clear vision on where we're going, we're still on that ladder because it's a life path. It's not just, I have to love every little aspect of what I do to be on the ladder that I love. No. We just have to love where we're going and the journey that it's taking to get there. Now that feels great. At least I hope it does for all of you in that short visualization. What happens is we stick that ladder now in a hole because we got to climb out of something. And we immediately forget about the ladder. Now it's not about the ladder. It's just about us being in the hole. And we forget that, gosh, we're on this journey that we love. And all we need to do is focus on that. Let's not focus on the hole. But when we focus on the hole, we then start to doubt ourselves. We start to beat ourselves up. We start to bring in all the excuses that exist when before we were in the hole, we loved the ladder. Nothing could stop us. So why is it changing? Now I understand that it does, but if we can understand this, that, hey, when I manufacture an environment around this ladder, it's going to change the way I think, which then can help give you the tools to start to focus on the ladder versus the environment in which it is in.
Okay,
so Garrett, that's the visualization I wanted to set up for this.
I love this. I love it so much that this is anybody who's in our world, we're going to be using this and going deeper into this on so many levels, because I watch this all the time, Matt, where I used to always say people will always be good, just good enough. Mm-hmm. They will set standards for themselves and they will go right up to that standard and then they stop. And this is the hole that they're in. We watch people that are building businesses right now and they have these dreams of the business that they want to build down the road. But right now, they just want to be financially okay. They just want to feel like they have a grasp on this. That's the hole that they set for themselves. And then all of a sudden, they see that little bit of freedom out there, and they're like, oh, thank you. Thank you. I did it. I did it. I did it. Like, I'm not stressed right now over how are we going to pay the bills? How are we going to do this? And then we stop climbing the ladder. Because all of a sudden we're just like, oh, I'm good. And it's like, well, why did we manufacture that was the hole to begin with? Like, yeah. Why did we put this in that environment? And, it's also the interesting thing that I find is that when we watch people, Matt, that are growing their businesses and they're out of the hole. I see this all the time when they all of a sudden it's like, this isn't about making more money. This isn't about, am I going to have a retirement? Am I going to be able to, live the life that I want to live? Like, I got it. It's happening. We're there. There's this interesting place when they realize how much they like climbing the ladder that all of a sudden you watch them just take off to a whole nother level that they didn't even realize was possible. Because it's not now about getting out of the hole. It's just about I love these people. I love this stuff. By the way, I am so smart. I have done so many real estate transactions. I can help you with that. Don't worry. I got this taken care of. You can count on me because I love doing this. That's the love of the ladder when I look at that. That's the love of climbing the ladder and being on the ladder. Those are the people that are like, I'm going to do this forever because I love it, not because I have to, because I love it. They're out of the hole. But
I was going to say on that.
This goes back to why did we manufacture this hole? What if you remove the background, Matt? That's what's so brilliant about what you said. What if we remove the background? Oh,
it just removes the perspective or shifts it to, all I have to do is focus on getting to the next step. Because you may not like the environment that you're in, but if you like the ladder that you're on, you're going to get out of it if you just focus on making the next step. And even with what you were highlighting, Garrett, when people are out of the hole, I also find there's some people who are like, yeah, everything's good, but something's missing. Right. And I think an element of that is they're now looking for the next mountain to climb that's not theirs. Right. So they'll look for what's the next thing I can put this ladder next to keep me going. And so they're basically kind of trying to find other people's journeys to go on. Yep. Where it's you don't have to put the ladder up against a mountain. Now, I do encourage everybody to always be pursuing, always be going after something, because that's what keeps you alive and well and healthy and all these things, and we grow. But you don't have to find someone else's mountain to put your ladder against. You just keep the backdrop blank. Because you love this journey and it's going to lead to incredible things. And I think there is an element of trust that we have to have in ourselves and our path. And I'm not saying this is pure either. There are times where you're going to fall down your ladder a bit. You're going to take a few steps backwards down, which isn't going to necessarily be fun. But the cool thing is if you like the path that you're on and you know that it's going somewhere incredible, then redoing a couple steps is not going to be a big deal. It's I enjoyed those steps before, so I might as well enjoy them again.
Okay. But I got to share here real quick because this is
Please.
this damn ladder philosophy that I'm loving right now. I watch people that use their goals as a hole that they've put themselves in.
Ooh, that's a good point.
We see this happen all the time. What happens at January 1st? I start at zero. I'm in the bottom of this pit and I can see the light at the top of the hole that I'm in. And I got my ladder. I know my systems. Okay, back in the ladder. Got to get myself out of this hole. And then that goes back to did I pass or fail at the end of this year? Did I get myself out of the hole? Was I able to see the green grass that was growing around the top of this thing? Or am I sliding back down to the bottom and just trying to get out of this hole again? And I have seen so much negativity come around people's goals where if you remove the background, this is where I've actually said to people, like, what if it wasn't a start at zero in January? What if it was a rolling 12-month goal that was going all the time? Yeah. So you're always sitting there going, okay, in the last 12 months, I made $400,000, $500,000, $700,000. Am I at zero now? Or do I just remove January from last year, add January in this year, and we roll this total? We're now always looking out above the hole that we put ourselves into. We're always on this ladder of just growth and moving forward. And it's not this thing that can potentially tear us down. I watch people do it with goals all the time. And it's just this thing that like that until I get there, I'm stuck in a hole. Yeah. And it's really, it's not good energy. I've never watched it. I know people say I need that to motivate me and get me going. And I'll say more often than not, from a psychological standpoint, it's usually more negative than it is positive.
I'd agree. I think it correlates to presence, right? I mean, if you look at, Gary Vee, Hormozy, all these people talk about this as like, okay, we can learn from our past. But really, like, if we don't deal with where we are right now, then, nothing changes because all we can control is where we are today. And I feel like putting the ladder in a hole is basically just digging into your past, always looking backwards, thinking that that's going to get you forward. It's important to know where we've been. I get that. But when we use that as the motivation, well, it's going to help me get, it's like, is it really? Is that really what truly motivates you? Now, the fear of going back to some horrible place, that could be motivating, but it's not, you're not looking at it as a way of like, I need to get away from that. It's, I don't want to go back there. And that's a different thought process. And so when the way I look at this visualization of just removing this background is like the only thing that you then can deal with is who I am today. It's the only thing that is now left is, well, this is me right now. This is my mindset. This is my situation. This is the current plane of environment that I'm at on my ladder. And so this is the only thing that I can actually deal with. This is the only thing that I can action. And the hole doesn't matter because the top of the hole doesn't matter because it doesn't exist. What just exists is today. And if we focus on that, then all of a sudden, I think the perspective becomes a lot more hopeful. A lot more, talk about the motivation. I find that most people will be more motivated if they feel like there's fuel to their fire versus feeling like the fuel that they have may not get them to where they want to go.
Well, so Matt, most of our listeners right now don't know what happened the other day, but we had Ryan Seacrest in the community. He came into the 11 Circle, spoke to the group, and by the way, I love Ryan so much.
Lit it up. It was great.
Crushed it. And so if we take this philosophy that you have, this picture in mind of this ladder, what Ryan brought up in his and by the way, we're going to have Ryan on here at some point. He is actually going to, I confirmed that. He's like, just send me dates. Let's get this going. So he will be in our world. But I think it's interesting. We were talking about the 5 pieces that made people have their best year ever in 2024. The 5, and they possessed all of these things. It's not like, they held one of them. Like they had all these pieces in alignment that allowed them to be really successful in 2024. One of the pieces that he was focusing on was knowing your core values and being really clear with your core values. And I think that this is the interesting thing because I want to go with what I was saying. I'm not saying don't set goals. I'm not saying don't dream big. I'm not saying don't have a vision out there because that automatically puts you into a hole. But what I am saying is like when I picture what Ryan was talking about, he's very clear with about 5 or 6 core values for him. And then he builds that into his calendar to be like, every single week, are there elements in here that are, this is his ladder he's building out, that totally represent this person that I can vision myself in the future. He's a very clear picture for who he wants to be, where he's going, what this is all about, the levels that he wants to be playing at. And then he just stays on the ladder. That's his ladder. And you were talking about a white room,
Yeah.
and kind of like removing the background. But I think if you can add in and get real clear on your core values and the picture of the future out there, that's like adding a whole bunch of color into this white room, so that as you're going up, you are constantly growing in this environment of your core pieces that are really important to you. And you're not ever climbing out of a hole. You're just always brightening the colors. You're always raising the bar in this world that's so important to you. I just keep going back to what Ryan was talking about in this picture of this ladder, and how you can use this as a philosophy for as you're moving through this year and moving through growing as a person.
I was thinking about it as you were talking there, and I was like, well, what if those are the things that actually make up what your ladder is built out of, right?
Yeah.
It's built out of the core values. And I think that you're 100% right. We're not saying don't have goals. In fact, I don't think you can have a ladder without goals. Whether you're in a hole or you're not in a hole, if you don't have goals, then what does the hole matter? If there's no goal, you're not really in a hole anyway. Because the only hole that you're in is the perspective that you're giving on where baseline is, which is based on your interpretation of the environment that you exist in. Because what one person's hole is, somebody else is going to laugh at you and be like, you think that's bad, right?
Yeah.
Have you ever seen what happened in my life, right? And then people get into the whole comparison game. But if your ladder is built out of these things, and I love the vision of like, where's the ladder go? Because the ladder could change too. It could change over time. Like Brian was talking about that yesterday. He's like, the reason why he was saying I don't get so attached to a goal is, I'm pretty sure he said this, and I could be paraphrasing something else he said, but is because it can change. Like as you get closer to that goal, that vision might change a little bit based on your experience. He used his time frame of his one goal with Hawaii, where he brought the experience of it forward a little bit, tasted it, and then all of a sudden it compressed the timeline. So the elements of the goal have now changed just based on an experience that has happened. And I think if everything's built into your ladder there, as long as your core values are there, because those don't really change much. They do change when big life events. We talked about this in our business planning workshop series. There are certain things that can change, but for the most part, what you're climbing, what it's built out of, is probably going to be pretty consistent. And at some point it might adapt. And then you're always chasing something amazing. Right. Yep. And then I think too, to bring color into it, like the plane of where you are, like that should almost be you can add a lot of color and vibrance to the room with all these things. And then just here's where I currently am, but you can't really see. You can see above it in terms of what you know. It's not actually physically there. And like, you don't see what's behind you anymore. You're just there. That's it. So there's no hole to climb out because you're just where you're at. And if that's your perspective, then I think we can move towards what we want so much faster and with better energy.
Well, and I think if I look at some of the most successful people that I've ever seen go into a growth pattern, they're not trying to go after one thing. They're not trying to go of like this one thing here, and then I'm going to tackle that. And okay, good. What's the next thing? Okay, then I'm going to go after this. It's a very broad picture of like, I know where I'm going. It's like I'm heading into the sunset. Like my goal is to go see the sunset. I want to go see it, and I'm just going to keep on that path until I go see an amazing sunset is what I'm going to go see. That's the goal. But like the journey, we get so locked into all these things and all these pieces of all these little micro goals along the way that are success and failure points. And I think that that's the interesting thing of like focusing on the horizon and going like, no, I know where I'm going. It's kind of the removing the background. It's removing the hole. It's allowing yourself to have these core values, have these visions in your life that you're just like, okay, I know what this big picture is all about. Ryan's one of the clearest I've ever seen on his goals, his core values. Mm-hmm. And every single day focusing on these is my day in alignment with all these core values that I have. Most of us show up and just handle the day. Most of us do. Most of us are trying to make the world right. We're trying to make making sure that, okay, we're not getting too overweight. We're staying in a baseline that we're like, hey, I'm at the top of the hole. I can see it. Maybe I can have that hamburger today. Maybe I can't. Just kind of keep myself right at that level. All of a sudden you get yourself in the hole again. You're like, oh, damn, I'm back down in the hole. Okay, let's maybe not have the hamburger. Let's drink some more water here for a bit. And all of a sudden you see the grass again and you're like, oh, cool. I'm going to have a whole pizza. Like, you're kind of a lot of us are always kind of in that area, whether it's your health or whether it's your relationships. It's always kind of that like, okay, I got this place that feels really good. And that's where I think the exponential stuff comes from, is like, as you were climbing that ladder that got you to the top there, what if you kept going? Like, what if you kept doing those things? You kept really pushing into those areas, because what got you to this place right now that's like, okay, this feels good. If you keep going with that intensity that got you out of this hole that you created.
Yeah. If the ladder's the same ladder, like, you don't have to change anything. Like, and yes, I know that when you get to certain levels, it's like, well, what got you here is not going to get you there. And like, yeah, that's a whole strategy thing. I understand that. But in terms of like those hard stops that don't actually exist, it's like if the ladder is still just another step. And, we complicate this so much, Garrett, I think even in the element of time. And I think if you use this visualization of a ladder, you can start to basically demystify time, because yes, you can get fatigued climbing, but in reality, like, it's just the same step, right? It's just the same step. It's the same distance. Whereas we try to create these big jumps. Like, the only way for me to get out is like this massive movement. Well, if you extend the rung on the ladder further than you can reach, you're not going anywhere. Right. And now you're complaining, I don't have time. It's like, no, you haven't used your time in a way to help you move forward. Whereas if you had more rungs, yeah, there's more steps, but they're going to be easier steps and they're actually going to move you forward. Right. Yeah. And I think time becomes this compression thing and how we use it. Justin Roethlingshofer actually has a really good statement on time when it comes to health. And he was saying on one of his podcasts that a lot of people spend time on their health, right? They will go to the gym. They will do nutrition plans. They'll do things. They'll spend time without understanding all the things that work. They'll spend time in what somebody tells them to do, so to speak. We do this in business as well. We spend time, but it's not our ladder that we're climbing. And we just kind of just repeat the same steps over and over again. So we spend, like you said, you get to here, you're like, all right, now I'm going to have the pizza. You go back, you come back. And instead of investing our time, right, into something that we really cherish, that we learn, that we grow with. And I think that's your own ladder that you step on, because when you invest time, then you get the return on that time. Whereas if you spend it, you're literally just giving it to somebody else. And for me, it's like, well, if you change your perspective on time, it's the same time. It's just, am I investing it for me or am I spending it on somebody else?
Well, I also think when you build it into this ladder, Matt, it's not like I'm doing a thing. And then this, I think where Justin's point comes really good, is like, I'm going to the gym for this hour.
Yeah.
And that's my moment of health. The rest of my day is like winging it with my health. But this is my moment that I feel like I'm healthy because I did the gym today. And the rest of it, I can kind of, blow off and go a different direction. I think in our business is the same way. I'm going to show up and spend a really focused time building relationships with my clients. The rest of the time, I'm just going to kind of go be somewhere else, being a different person, because I got my phone calls in today and I feel good about that. But it's like, what if that was you? What if you embraced that and embodied that in you kind of who you are, instead of it making a thing that you show up and spend time on? What if you were that person that always focused on building really amazing relationships with people, was part of who you were? You built it into your DNA. The people that focus on health at the levels like that Justin does and Ryan does. Ryan has poured Ryan Seacrest has poured a huge part of his world into being as healthy as he possibly can be. And it's funny, you haven't seen any pictures of him, maybe, Matt, when he was like not that far ago. He was skinny, like rail of a dude, tall, skinny biker, not motorcycle biker, like
cyclist.
Spandex,
thank you. Not leather.
He's that dude, and he is like one of the most physically fit people I know in my world around. Like, he has just taken such amazing care of himself. but he owned it. It became one of his core values. It became a thing that wasn't a thing he was doing. It was who he was. And I think that that's the power of you start building this ladder with these things. It's like, instead of making a whole bunch of things you do, find the things that really fit your core values of who you are and start doing that consistently all the time. Because then the growth is not just getting out of a hole, it's exponential out there. But so often we're just doing things. We're doing a thing.
You know, it gave me this one more visualization of this ladder, which is when you try to cobble together everybody else's stuff, you're going to be going on the group ladder that's crowded. It's slow. It's congested. Whereas your ladder is your own. It's clean. Yeah. It's clear. It's slick. It's smooth. It's fast. And that's the beauty of taking in what you just said and owning it all for yourself. And the great thing is you can line that ladder up to a bunch of your friends and you all can go on a journey together on your own ladders and still be rising together. You don't have to go on the group ladder where everybody's kind of like grabbing and clawing and your momentum is based on how fast the person is moving in front of you. Your frustration comes from who's behind you trying to push you along. Whereas if you're on your own ladder, like you have the clarity to own yourself and your mission and go after it. And I will say it's not easy. But I think when we remove this background, it starts to become clear. And at least we can start to take the steps to build the ladder that we want to climb and then take the first step on that.
And I'm going to go back on the it's not easy for a second, because I think the clearer you get on who you are and your core values, I actually will say that I think it becomes a hell of a lot easier than trying to do what made somebody else successful and what got somebody else there, that we're just going, I know I'm supposed to sit down with my clients and do this thing. And what's a report that worked for somebody else? Because this is why I tell people, the more excited and the more energized you are about it, because it's something that you want to share with somebody, oh my gosh, get out of their way. They'll go do it all day long and they have amazing successes with it because it's something that they created, they love. It's their ladder, it's their journey. It's not somebody else's thing that they brought in. So I'm just going to say right now, Matt, hands down, favorite topic in 700 episodes that we have done together, hands down, favorite topic.
Oh man. Dude, that makes me feel good. I actually I got to go get a ladder, like a nice gold ladder, and lean it up against the wall.
Dude,
back here.
Mine's wood. It's like dark, like an ebony color.
I could see what yours would look like.
Sure. I was thinking about it. Really smooth. Like I'm thinking like the wood's just gonna be just buttery to touch. Oh, it's gonna be great.
See, but how awesome is that, right? Like that just moment of you thinking about that, and hopefully all of you listening take a moment to think about, what does your ladder look like? What does it feel like? And that's an incredible thing that you can bring into your world to build this thing. One final thought here is listening to the interview with Alex Hermosi that Stephen Bartlett did on Diary of a CEO. And this speaks to your, is it easy or is it hard thing? And Alex was saying, or Stephen asked him about the parrot or the, forget what the other thing was, but the producer, let's call it. And he said, well, the person who's parroting, who is always copying, by definition, is always at least in second place. And he said, so when you're crafting your own thing and you're figuring it out and you're learning and you're investing in the time into understanding what's going on, he's like, you'll always be first, always. Now, in what venue that is, that'll be dependent. But if you're always seeking to copy somebody else, you'll never, ever beat them because you are always going off of something that's already been done. And by definition, you're at best second place. And be first place in your own journry. Yeah. That's going to be where the real wins come in. And that's where it gets easy. So, yeah. I appreciate you exploring this with me, man. I thought a lot about this over this past week since I had that conversation. I'm just like, it's helped me get into a place of just sanity for the little moments. Cause we all go through challenges, right? We all have things that we're dealing with in our world. Garrett and I are no different. We are human beings on a journey. Yeah. And I was like, well, if I can just remove that background, it just brings a sense of calm, which is great.
Well, what's super fun that all of you just got to go on a journey with Matt and I on is Matt literally shared this. I got an idea about this ladder and this idea of it being in a hole. And what if it wasn't in a hole? What if it was something that like you remove the background on and you're on this journey of climbing the rungs of the ladder that you love climbing? That is how much information Matt gave to me before we started this.
Yeah, there was no like written pathway of this is where we're going to go and take this. Like it was raw information there.
This is why I loved it so much, is that you all really got to go on this thing that Matt and I do all the time. We just kind of sit around and talk like this. It's why we so many years ago said we should just record this and start a podcast. We haven't had an episode. I mean, we roll a lot, but we haven't
talked
had
about
one.
things. But the first time I mentioned this ladder to you was 30 minutes ago.
Yeah. Yeah. And this is a 30-minute episode right now where I just hit the 30-minute mark. So I just want to say, Matt, thank you to you. This is why I love working with you. This is why I love the energy that we have together. I hope everybody enjoyed this episode. This is like a musician that goes, this is our best song. And it's like, why does nobody listen to it? So
Well, I appreciate you going on this climb with me today, Garrett, and I appreciate everybody else going on this climb with me today as well. And if you did get some value out of it, which I totally agree. I can't necessarily say that about but yeah, sure I can. I think this is a fantastic episode. It's worth the share. Share it with somebody. If you know somebody in your world who is struggling with something, struggling to get out of a hole or get on their journey or go to the next step on their path, share this episode with them so that they can get some inspiration and motivation. If you're watching on YouTube, hit like, subscribe, comment below what you got out of this, because it's not what's taught, it's what's caught. Garrett and I can talk about all the great things in the world, but I want to know what you take in, what you catch, and what you're going to go put into action, because that's how it's going to come to fruition in your world. And if you want some support on that journey, come join us in the 11 Circle, our group coaching program. You can go to lifeat10tenths.com to learn more about that. You can also get in on our starter membership where you get some access, some additional content that we don't share here on the podcast. And the 11 Circle is there. And if you want one-on-one coaching, if you want somebody, you want Garrett or myself walking right beside you on this journey, we love doing that. You can learn a little bit more about that at our website as well. So we appreciate you guys tuning in as always, and look forward to sharing more with you on the next episode. Garrett, thank you, my friend.
thank you. Hands down, best episode. There you go.